All right, what up, e-bikers? So today we're going to be taking a look at one of the craziest e-bikes I've ever checked out. This is the Engwe X2600. My buddy Chris, who I went out and did the test ride on this thing with, calls this the Terminator e-bike, and I got to admit, it does look kind of like this thing was built out of liquid steel. So besides being one of the bigger e-bikes I've checked out, this thing also does have a lot of great features, as well as just being a really cool design. So we really put this thing through its paces on our test ride out there, especially checking out this triple suspension. As you guys can see, you do have hydraulic front shocks on this, as well as these big springs on the back. And it even has a mid suspension right here. First time I've ever looked at an e-bike with triple suspension on it. And I got to tell you, man, this thing rides smooth. So my buddy Chris really put this through the Bouncy Test, not only just kind of testing it out on the roads for how much kind of bounce and suspension it gave you, but we even ran this thing down the train tracks a little ways out of town here, right over those big railroad ties. It was pretty crazy, but this bike actually handled well. Let's check out a little bit of that footage. You guys can see just how much suspension you get on this Engwe X26. Damn. So as you guys can see there, this thing just about bounced him out of the saddle, man. He couldn't even keep his feet on the pedal, but the bike did amazingly well. You could really see just how much bounce and support this bike had going over rough terrain like that. If it's gonna handle something like those railroad tracks, it's definitely gonna be able to handle any of the dirt, rock, gravel kind of terrain that you might be taking this thing on. But before we check out the full riding footage, why don't we go ahead? I'll bring you guys up a little bit closer. You can check out the actual cool design of this bike, as well as take a look at some of the features I'll go through with you right now. Come on up. You got your speedometer, your odometer, as well as your power setting. So it is in sport mode now, which is going to mean that's going to work off the throttle. You also have assist mode, which is going to be your pedal assist, and then normal, which is just going to be manually powered. Give you guys a little bit of a closer look at these front shocks you've got there, your mid suspension right here, and then these big beefy spring shocks on the back. And then these are 26-inch by 4-inch fat tires, tons of tread, as you can see on those. One of the more unique features about this e-bike, so it does have two batteries. You have one big 28 amp hour battery, which is already one of the biggest amp hourages of any battery I've looked at on an e-bike. But besides the big 28 amp hour battery, you also have an internal 10 amp hour backup battery just in case of emergency. That's going to give you almost 40 amp hours of power in this e-bike. Just amazing, really. I've never had an e-bike that was even close to this. And what may be even more amazing is that this is actually a folding e-bike. So you can pop it right here. You can see the hinge where it's going to fold up at. That is also going to give you access to that front battery. So in order to switch from the main battery to the back battery, you actually have a plug socket right here. What you're going to do is take this plug. You're just going to take that out from the main battery and you are going to replug it into the backup battery. So this is not going to run congruently between the two batteries. So I really do think of this backup 10 amp hour battery more as like an emergency gas tank on a truck, something like that. You are going to need to switch over from one to the other. And then of course you do have your 8-gear Shimano gear shift and derailleur, as you can see right on here. And it also has front and rear hydraulic disc brakes, front headlight and rear tail light. And this also does brighten up when you brake, so it also has brake lights included. So you have a 330-pound weight capacity on this Engwe, and it does have this back seat for passengers. So depending on what your weight is and the weight of your passenger, this bike will handle up to 330 pounds. So all right, guys, now that we've checked out most of the specs on this Engwe X26 e-bike, why don't we go ahead and check out the riding footage we got, taking this thing out for a test ride. Then we'll come back, I'll summarize and give you guys my final thoughts on this crazy beast of an e-bike. So you guys could really see from the riding footage just how much power this ENGWE has. I actually had a pretty tough time keeping up with my buddy Chris while he was riding this thing. He kept taking off from me on it. Of course, my e-bike is more of a standard with a 20-mile top speed. This e-bike actually has a top speed of just over 30 miles per hour. Pretty crazy. It accelerates decently. I do feel like one of the downsides on this e-bike is the size and weight of it. It's definitely a tall e-bike. This would be something great for somebody like 6 foot and up. Although my buddy Chris is about 5'10", he rode it no problem, even had the seat up a little bit higher than it is now. But just keep that in mind. It also weighs just about 100 pounds. So I do think this is something that's going to take 2 people to load up in the truck. And the fact that it does fold up is a nice touch, but of course that doesn't reduce the weight at all. You can pull the seat off, which that seat post is what has the battery inside of it. That is going to drop you down about 15 pounds or so off the total weight of the e-bike. But I do have to say, a ton of fun to ride. I really enjoyed getting out on this thing. Very smooth. It glides like you're riding it on glass, actually, man. Very nice triple suspension, good acceleration, really nice top speed for an e-bike. And of course, even with that 100-pound weight on this thing, you're still going to get a great range of about 60 miles due to the huge battery that it has in here. And of course, that extra 10 amp hour backup battery, which I got to say, I really do love that idea. I have gone a little bit further than I should have a couple times on my e-bike and had the battery die on the way home. And then you're kind of struggling in manual power only. So having that extra 10 amp hour of battery, which is probably going to get you around 15-mile range on that, that should be able to get you home in an emergency type situation. One of the other downsides I would say with this e-bike, I didn't really like the fact that you do have to unplug the battery and then plug it in, and both of the batteries do charge separately. So you can charge the seat battery, the 28 amp hour, right on the bike itself. That one's fairly easy. The internal battery, you actually do have to slide the battery out in order to charge it. So maybe a couple of things they could improve for the next version of this. But I would say overall, probably one of the funnest and most unique e-bikes I have ridden to date. I just love what they're doing with e-bikes these days, the cool new features and designs that you're able to get on them. And I really think ENGWE is onto something with this Beast Terminator e-bike, man. Powerful, cool looking, very smooth ride, and a great range on it with those dual batteries. So all right, guys, if you guys are interested in checking out the ENGWE X26, it's actually $100 off right now from $19.99. You can get it for $18.99. So I will put a link up here, I think right over here somewhere on the top, where you can go and check out the ENGWE. There will also be a link down in the description as well as a pinned comment. So if this is something you think you'd be interested in, I highly recommend you go ahead, use the link, check it out for yourself. Otherwise, if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to this channel, ring that bell so you get all the notifications when the videos go up. If you enjoyed yourself at any time during this video, you like checking out the ENGWE today, please do give us a thumbs up. They are greatly appreciated. And as always, leave me a comment down below. I love reading your guys' comments. What did you think about this crazy design on the ENGWE X26? Have you ridden an e-bike like this? What kind of e-bike do you ride? Let me know any of that stuff. I will respond to you. And then other than that, I just hope you're having a fantastic e-biking day. And I will catch you guys right back here with a brand new video to take a look at on GreenMotion. Keep moving, guys. See you next time. Peace.